Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ali Shahban Anir, and let me to present about a book from Paul Nation and John Macalister, with the title is Language Curriculum Design. In this book, I focus on chapter 7, that is about monitoring and assessment. So the summary of this book, this chapter, has the aim that curriculum design process is to decide what to test and how to test it. In this chapter, there are 6 types of monitoring and assessment. Those are placement assessment, observation of learning, short-term achievement assessment, diagnostic assessment, achievement assessment, and the last is proficiency assessment. But my focus on what I will describe in this chapter limited to 4 sub chapter. So yeah, those are diagnostic assessment, achievement assessment, proficiency assessment, and how to reach a good assessment. And contain of reliability, validity, and practicality. So let's move to the explanation of diagnostic assessment. Diagnostic assessment, what is used for? This diagnostic assessment is usually used for what? Now, the diagnostic assessment is used to find the gaps and weakness in learners' knowledge, so that something can be done about them more positively. It is used to find what learners know well, so that time is not wasted in teaching. And then diagnostic assessment is a very important part of need analysis. In doing need analysis, this is positively, it's used to find what learners know well. Yeah. And then this is very important part of need analysis, but before doing a course or before a course begin and during the course running. So about the sample of a diagnostic assessment is like from Smith in 2002 about vocabulary level test. It helped teacher whether learners should be focusing on high frequency vocabulary, academic vocabulary, or low frequency vocabulary. This is a very important decision because high frequency vocabulary and low frequency vocabulary need quite different teaching strategies. Especially for high frequency vocabularies, every word deserves individual attention in a variety of ways. Different as low frequency vocabulary, the focus should be on the development of vocabulary and learning strategies that learners can use independently of a teacher. And another sample of diagnostic assessment, that's about learner self-assessment. Self-assessment usually involves learners working with making a checklist or making scales to indicate their perceived areas of their strength and their weakness. And one effect of diagnostic assessment can be to help learners set their personal goals for a course. Diagnosis invariably reveals a range of needs, and many of these may be best filled by giving learners responsibility for some of them. These personal goals can be put in a written form on a book, where each goal is accompanied by a schedule of work that will help learners achieve their goals. And then we move to the achievement assessment. Yeah, achievement assessment is used for measure both the achievement of learners during a course and the effectiveness of the course itself. And the key result of assessment, it may be a final assessment test at the end, and perhaps one or monitoring and assessment to test part of the way through a course. And then a course may have the purpose of picking up learners who are not achieving, so that something can be done to help the learners to learn. Yeah. And the characteristic of achievement test or achievement assessment, the first is they are based on material taught in the course. This depends on the materials in the classroom, maybe. And the second is learners usually know what kind of questions will be asked and what material will be covered in the course. And the third is they are criterion referenced. It means that there will be a standard or criterion set, yeah, which will indicate whether learners have achieved enough to be given a pass for the course. So the learners are not assessed in relation to each other, but in relation to a predetermined criteria. For example, is about the remedial system in a school. Yeah. In mastery test, for example, in a mastery test, there is a high criterion that that have been set, and for example, the passing grade, for example, maybe 80% and 90%. So the learners can be given repeated opportunities to study the material and sit the test until they reach the criterion of mastery. So they can try it and try it more until the students or the learners reach the passing grade. Yeah. And then another assessment method, yeah, actually some aspect of assessment are better done in other way. For example, in writing skill, assessing skill in composition writing to obtain a reliable measure of writing skill. It is necessary for learners to write more than one composition. It means if the learners become understand and can make a writing with more than one composition, it means that the student has achieved the goal. So we move to the explanation about proficiency assessment. So proficiency assessment, what is used for? Usually, proficiency assessment it used for language tests. This become an evaluation for language proficiency. They represent an independent measure of the relevance and adequacy of a course. Yeah. The key results of proficiency assessment is about the purpose. The purpose of a proficiency test is to show how much the learners know of the language or a particular part of the language. The proficiency test is likely to cover a larger range of items and skills. And then proficiency assessment has the goal of seeing where learners have reached in their knowledge of the language. Here's the characteristic of proficiency test. Proficiency assessment is based on items drawn from the language as a whole rather than from the content of a particular course. It tries to measure a learner's language knowledge in relation to other learners who may have studied different courses, or in relation to areas of language knowledge that are based upon an analysis of the language. And about sample, uh, this is really familiar with us, about IELTS and TOEFL. These two sample of proficiency test, language proficiency test, yeah, actually awaits all learners at the end of a course. This test may be working as a criterion, reference test to determine whether a learner goes into an English medium university or not. TOEFL is offered in three formats, and for the widely used internet-based test, IBT, this criterion is usually set a score of 79 or 80 out of a possible 120 for entry to an undergraduate course, depending on which university is setting the criterions. This depends on the university, the rule in the university. The IELTS test uses a 9-point scale with a score of 6, 6.5, or 7 usually being necessary to gain entrance to a university. Sometimes the test may simply act as a norm reference test, which shows learners at which percentile of proficiency they are in relation to others. Yeah. So an important value of proficiency tests is that they are one source of evaluation data for a program. They represent an independent measure of the relevance and education of language course. Yeah. And achievement measures before the course and for learners who have done the course, but it is possible what was is being done of the course, even though it is done well, does not represent what is meant to know the language. So that's about the proficiency assessment. And let's move to the next step is the next explanation, yeah, about good assessment. All assessment need to be checked to see it is doing its job properly, and that it is not causing unnecessary work. In most investigative procedure, including the tools for need analysis, course evaluation procedures, and tests and other measures for assessment can be examined by considering these three criteria. Those are reliability, validity, and practicality. So here we come to the reliability meaning. Yeah? Reliability, reliability is a consistency. Yeah, so that it is called reliable because it gives the same result on several trials, several consecutive trials. Reliability used to measure by having the learner sit the test twice, even 3 times, 4 times, or more, by splitting their scores on the individual test items into uh, uh, two equal groups and seeing if the learners get the same score on both groups. The key results, yeah, it called reliable or a test is more reliable if it is always given under the same condition, always given under the same condition, and it is consistently marked. It has large number of points of assessment. There is many questions, or as in dictation, many items that are marked. And the last, it is its question and instructions are clear and unambiguous. So I will emphasize that reliability is a consistency, yeah, consistency so that it is reliable, yeah, even it gives the same, it gives the same result, even it's has several trials. So that is about reliability, and then we move to the next about validity. So a valid test measure what is it supposed to measure. That is the keyword, the first keyword. The next keyword is a valid achievement test measures what has been learned on the course. And the next is a valid listening test measures skill at listening. So those are the point. The most practical ways for a teacher or a curriculum designer to check the validity of a test are just to look at its face validity and content validity. So what is face validity? Face validity is if the test is called a reading test, does it look like a reading test? Or if it is called a vocabulary test, does it look like a vocabulary test? Yeah. So it means what is the test look like? Yeah? If that is reading test, so it is look like a reading test. Also in writing test or grammatical test, this is look like a grammatical test. Yeah. About the content validity works by analyzing the test and comparing it to what it is supposed to test. To find the content validity or of an assessment test, we will have to look at the part of the course that was being tested and list the items and skills that have been taught. Yeah, that is about validity. And the next is practicality. Practicality is not only must a test be reliable or to be valid, it must also be practical. Practicality is examined by looking at the cost involved in administering and scoring the test, and then looking at the time taken to administer and sit the test, and then the time taken to mark the test, and the number of people needed to administer and mark the test, and then the ease of interpreting and applying the result of the test. So, if is it possible, where possible, reliability and validity should be preferred over practicality, but usually compromise is necessary. Improvements in practicality can often be found by giving careful thought to the test format and by doing a little pilot testing. So if we uh, want to know that the test is practical, so you have to be testing to test the test. Yeah, I mean make a pilot testing, always trying. So all of the indicators, the 5 indicators that I have been explained just now, it can be measured well. It can be managed well. Yeah, yeah. So to reach the good assessment, we have to concern or focus on these three basic criteria actually. Yeah, we have to uh, look at the reliability, the validity, and practicality. So we move to the mindsets of uh, curriculum development. Yeah, about this quotation, learning another language is not only learning different words for the same things, but learning another way to think about things. It means that we have to think more about the way to deliver the 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 learning process, the way to deliver the 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 way to find strategies, the way to make the learners to be understand with what we taught there. Yeah. The next quote is from Anies Baswedan, ya, bahwa kurikulum berubah. Tidak otomatis kualitas pendidikan meningkat, namun jika kualitas guru meningkat, kualitas pendidikan pasti meningkat. Itu kuncinya. Ya. So beside the the way to develop the curriculum, the teacher also have to uh, get their best, yeah, so they can deliver the curriculum well. Yeah. And thank you very much for this chance. And I think this is the end of my presentation. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.